SpaceX's Starship Block 3 is coming. More components have been spotted. Is Jared Isaacman about to stop SLS? What are his thoughts on the Moon and Mars? The iconic Stargate building at Starbase is destroyed. How many planets can a star eat? My name is Felix, welcome to What About It. Let's dive right in. Starship updates. At Starbase, things are moving quickly on the Starship front again as SpaceX barrels towards completely redesigning the entire project. Last week we showed you a sneak peek at the first Block 3 Starship piece. Keen-eyed Jack Beyer spotted Ship 39's LOX header tank and showed how it's already being assembled. We've now got images of an even newer Starship, but first let's look at an entire Block 3 nose cone, shall we? This is one of our first ever actual views of a Block 3 nose cone. The quality improvements SpaceX has made over the years here at Starbase are stunning. This is about the smoothest Starship nose cone I've ever seen. It also shows how far along Block 3 actually is. It usually takes SpaceX 2 to 3 months from this point to a fully assembled ship. Given how much taller Block 3 variants of Starship are going to be, it'll be interesting to see this one get stacked in one of the megabays. The coming Gigabay makes way more sense when considering this, but now how would you feel about seeing a piece of Ship 40? I don't know, depends on the piece. Starship Gazer spotted Ship 40's methane header tank in the Star Factory. It's important to always remember that SpaceX is way further ahead in testing out new designs than what we may only glimpse through windows and open bay doors. Who knows how many future Starships are in the works in the Star Factory already? Elliot, our resident 3D magician, has put together some great renders of the coming Block 3 of Starships. We know that they are going to be bigger and taller, and well, much bigger and taller to say the least. All these changes have a very important reason. SpaceX needs a larger upper stage for more versatile mission profiles. Looking into the planned future of this rocket shows it clearly. Moon and Mars trips are big goals requiring equally big rockets. While seeing more and more Block 3 pieces of Starships come together is incredibly exciting, SpaceX still has work to do validating the remaining Block 2 Starships. After Flights 7 and 8 produced fiery spectacles in the sky, SpaceX needs to have a more visually appealing Flight 9 result. I saw many comments under the last episode of people stating that Block 2 needs to be fixed before Block 3 can be built. While at first it might seem like a good solution, keep in mind that moving to Block 3 is also an option to fix the ship. Ship 36 will likely be the prototype of choice for Flight 10, and Starship Gazer was able to snap this photo of it hanging out in Megabay 2 recently. As you can see, the ship is fully stacked and heat shield installation is underway. Look at this! This method of wrapping a ship in a protective layer looks unfinished. I'm not a heat shield designer, but this? You tell me, how could this heat shield installation process be streamlined? Let me know in the comments. SpaceX is watching our content after all, maybe we have a solution or two in the community. Ship 38 is also already getting flaps installed on its nose cone as well. As potentially the last Block 2 variant of Starship, what happens with this prototype will be interesting, but it is currently projected to be the ship of choice for Flight 12. This is all very important because, as we've noted in past episodes, Starship is the key piece of the puzzle here. And SpaceX was, for a time, short on ship prototypes while having plenty of boosters lined up for test flights. Also, with Elon Musk recently posting that SpaceX was honing in on finishing the Block 3 design, SpaceX has really put the pedal to the metal in churning out more ships. They've now got upwards of 6 test vehicles in development, counting just those we can see, including 2 Block 3 Starships. The progress here is exciting to see and seems to suggest that SpaceX is pushing forward through whatever issues have plagued the early Block 2 flights. But what about the super heavy boosters? We've already known Booster 14-2 is going to be used in Flight 9 coming up soon, including 29 already flown engines. But what about the flights after that? We recently saw Booster 17 head over to Massey's for its first round of cryo testing, and it currently remains there. While it could potentially be used in Flight 10, there has also been a new development with Booster 15. Booster 15 flew recently on Flight 8 and was the third booster to be caught by Mechazilla. Given the issues that occurred with the hot staging ring along with it completing the chopsticks catch with a few engines out, the prospects for it being reflown seem to be slim. However, it was recently moved back into Mega Bay 1 after a stay in the rocket garden, and its direction right now is unclear. The more flight-proven boosters SpaceX has at the ready, the better. Reflying boosters is important for Starship's ultimate full reusability in the future, and it's encouraging to already see Super Heavy prototypes being reflown. We're still at Block 1 with those. SpaceX is actively developing Block 2 Super Heavy boosters, which are anticipated to incorporate enhancements such as increased propellant capacity, structural optimizations, and the integration of Raptor 3 engines. We will closely watch for potential static fire tests of Booster 15 in the future. This will give us a solid idea of SpaceX's readiness to refly more than just Booster 14-2. In other updates around the launch site, more critical flame trench hardware is being installed. This core piece is massive. It is the support structure for the flame deflector pipes. One half of the brand new flame diverter has also been rolled out to the pad and installed in the flame trench as well. Elliot's animations show the concept in detail. Every one of these pipes has tiny holes in it, much like the deluge plate under the older Pad A construction. When the rocket launches, thousands upon thousands of these holes start spraying a fine mist of water droplets out directly into the flames. These are critical pieces of launch hardware that we've been watching for weeks, and it's crazy how quickly they are coming together. We are now closer than ever before to seeing a fully functional flame trench at Starbase. How long do you think it'll be before SpaceX is completely done with Pad B? From things getting built fast to being taken down equally as fast, we head to the production site where deconstruction of the high bay continues and the Stargate building is now completely flattened. Stargate mainly served as the primary offices for Starbase's employees, but the eastern office end of the Star Factory now serves as their headquarters, so the Stargate building's days have been numbered for a while. Out with the old, in with the new, the same goes for the high bay. It has been used for storage of ship prototypes for a few years now, but the construction of the two mega bays has basically rendered it obsolete. We'll soon see the first signs of the Gigabay construction, bigger, better, and well suited for what's to come. Hundreds of ships and boosters. One of the most underrated results of spaceflight advances is better weather prediction systems. Today's sponsor is one of the best. The grind never stops at Starbase, and you know that conditions out here can be quite rough at times. To always stay on top of weather and keep ahead of the storm, you should have a look at what today's sponsor, MyRadar, has to offer. Dependable weather data is crucial for our daily work out here. We don't want to see a giant rocket lying flat by the side of the road because of an unexpected storm. SpaceX needs to track conditions closely at all times. MyRadar provides valuable advanced warnings, so never go unprepared when storms or flooding rolls in. MyRadar is for free. We use it to monitor any risks to the Y team and our 24/7 cameras at Starbase. And MyRadar can do so much more. You can monitor wildfires, track storms, and set up custom alerts. And then there is the one feature I love the most. You can follow orbital objects like rockets and even Mars rovers. So whether you're gearing up for a rocket launch or staying ahead of the weather, MyRadar always has you covered. Click the link in the description to download it for free and stay informed about what's coming your way. MyRadar can be your radar right now. Alright, let's head over to Florida now. The hurricane season hasn't started yet, but a storm is already brewing. A storm of rockets. Look at what's been seen at KSC-39A in Florida. We've talked so much about how there could potentially be Starship launches in 2 states by the end of the year, and the progress we can see here on Florida's iteration of the orbital launch mount is very encouraging. This is SpaceX's 3rd crack at this type of infrastructure, and it likely won't be the last. The most important lesson taken from the first iteration of Starship pads was obviously that diverting the force is a good idea. The launch mount and the rest of the Stage 0 infrastructure is massively important to successful launches and test flights, and it looks like SpaceX is applying what they've learned yet again. This orbital launch mount in Florida looks to be a copy of the one for Pad B at Starbase. Iterative launch sites, what a world. Before we go into more details on where humanity is heading in the future, our channel metrics show over 4 million returning monthly viewers who have not subscribed yet. Help improve the channel and double check that you've hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with our updates. Like this video if you appreciate the content and become a Y supporter for extra content. Secure your access to up to 7 picture galleries per week, satellite, aerial and ground photos and 3D animations. Chat with me and gain more insights on the topic you love. The entire team is waiting for you, you rock. Jared Isaacman, NASA's administrator nominee, recently told the Senate that the Space Launch System and Orion spacecraft aren't the long-term solution for deep space exploration, while also pushing for simultaneous Moon and Mars missions. On April 9th, Jared Isaacman, the current nominee to lead NASA, testified at his confirmation hearing before the Senate Commerce Committee in Washington, D.C., offering his perspective on the agency's flagship programs for lunar and Mars exploration. What's his course? Where will he lead NASA? The founder of Shift 4, who commanded SpaceX's Inspiration 4 in 2021 and Polaris Dawn in 2024, where he performed the first private spacewalk, stated that while the Space Launch System rocket and Orion spacecraft are essential for the upcoming Artemis 2 and 3 missions, they don't meet NASA's long-term needs for sustainable deep space travel. Isaacman pointed to the Space Launch System's high cost, estimated at $2 billion per launch, and its limited flight cadence of once every 2 years, arguing that this approach lacks the efficiency and the frequency required for regular missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. And he could be right. He advocated for a future shift toward commercial launch systems, which could offer lower costs and higher launch rates, a model he's directly experienced through his SpaceX missions. Isaacman also made a strong case for pursuing human missions to both Moon and Mars at the same time, rejecting the idea of prioritizing one over the other. He told the committee
that the world's greatest space agency, we don't have to make a binary decision of Moon versus Mars, or Moon has to come first versus Mars. I think we could be paralleling these efforts.
We don't have to make a binary decision, emphasizing that NASA can return to the Moon with Artemis while also laying the groundwork for crewed Mars missions potentially within the next decade. Committee Chairman Senator Ted Cruz also expressed worries about maintaining US lunar leadership against China, which plans to land astronauts on the Moon by 2030. Isaacman responded with confidence that America will also continue to lead in that arena.
Senator, I only see the left-hand portion of that poster.
The hearing came as Artemis 2, the first crewed SLS flight, is set for April 2026. It will send 4 astronauts on a 10-day lunar flyby, and Artemis 3 is targeting a lunar landing in 2027. Both are critical for NASA's goal of returning humans to the Moon and preparing for Mars. Isaacman committed to these missions, but stressed the need for a more scalable strategy afterward. His simultaneous Moon-Mars push, combined with his SLS critique, raises questions about NASA's $25 billion annual budget, already strained by Artemis's more than $90 billion budget since 2012. And there's no one on the Moon yet. $90 billion. He also supported operating the International Space Station through its 2030 retirement, contrasting Musk's call to deorbit it by 2027, ensuring a US presence in low Earth orbit during the transition to commercial stations. Here's why this matters. This debate is pivotal for the future of human spaceflight. The SLS, delivering 3,990 metric tons of thrust at liftoff, is the second most powerful rocket ever launched. But its cost and slow production limit NASA's ability to scale up missions. Like, what can you do if you have a rocket every 2 years? This is a key factor as the agency aims for a sustained lunar presence and Mars exploration by the 2030s. It's contradictory. How can we establish a sustainable presence on the Moon with an unsustainable rocket? There simply is no budget for this, and that's a very important part of the NASA administrator's job description. Isaacman's vision for commercial systems like SpaceX's Starship or Blue Origin's New Glenn could reduce costs and increase launch frequency, enabling NASA to complete these stated goals. His dual Moon-Mars goal reflects a growing trend. Commercial spaceflight, already transforming low Earth orbit, could redefine deep space exploration and make it more accessible. However, this transition carries political and logistical challenges. With his confirmation vote pending after recess, Isaacman's ideas could reshape NASA's trajectory and set the agency on a new course. Now, I want you to take a moment and write down your thoughts about this in the comments, be it pro or contra. This is a very important discussion, and I'd really love to hear your take. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has uncovered a surprising twist in the first ever observed case of a star swallowing a planet. Not a joke. On April 10th, NASA released findings from the James Webb Space Telescope, which observed a star 12,000 light-years away. It's in the Milky Way, consuming a planet in an event initially spotted by Caltech's Palomar Observatory in San Diego. Using Webb's mid-infrared instrument and near-infrared spectrograph, researchers discovered a hot accretion disk of molecular gas, including carbon monoxide, around the star, with an expanding cloud of cooler dust enveloping the scene. Contrary to the prevailing hypothesis that the star swelled as a red giant to engulf the planet, Webb's data showed the planet's orbit gradually shrank over millions of years. Still, absolutely terrifying. This orbital decay drew it closer and closer until it grazed the star's atmosphere, triggering a rapid, catastrophic plunge. That's not nice. The planet, estimated to be Jupiter-sized, orbited closer to its star than Mercury does to our Sun, a proximity that led to its eventual demise. An interesting observation was the unexpected presence of a planet-forming region-like environment in the aftermath, despite no new planets forming, opening new questions about what happens after engulfment. The findings challenge models of stellar evolution and planetary dynamics, suggesting stars may not always swell to consume their planets, a shift that could reshape our understanding of stellar life cycles. Now, what about you? Do you want to be up high in the sky looking at cool things and not thinking about the sun engulfing us? Check out redlineheli.com/Felix for a once-in-a-lifetime experience and $25 off flying in a helicopter above Starbase. The Redline helicopter team is waiting for you. They'll show you the same views our photographers get on their Starbase flights. Give it a try. NASA, in collaboration with NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center, is preparing for an exercise at the end of April to ensure the safety of the Artemis 2 crew during their lunar mission scheduled for April 2026. This will be the first crewed flight of the Artemis program, sending 4 astronauts on a 10-day journey around the moon, the first human trip beyond low Earth orbit since Apollo 17 in 1972. But why do we need to protect them like this? Unlike missions in low Earth orbit, where Earth's magnetosphere offers protection, Artemis 2 will expose the crew to solar radiation risks, including solar proton events that could pose dangerous health hazards. The team has devised a storm shelter plan for the inside of the Orion spacecraft, which has a 3-meter interior diameter.
Itty-bitty living space.
Rob Chambers of Lockheed Martin, Orion's prime contractor, explained that in the event of a severe solar storm, the crew would create a little pillow fort using storage and waste bags. Not a joke. The 4 astronauts would huddle together in this makeshift shelter, pressed against one another to shield themselves from radiation until the storm subsides. A method necessitated by the lack of immediate return options during the mission. You can't just turn around. Who knew pillow forts are actually useful? This preparation builds on lessons from Artemis 1's uncrewed 2022 flight, which tested the AstroRad vest for radiation protection. NASA's Space Radiation Analysis Group has analyzed Orion's design against major solar events to set thresholds for when the shelter is needed. The exercise underscores the real risk of deep space, where solar events like the May 2024 geomagnetic storm could disrupt missions if not appropriately managed. And disrupt missions is a very nice way to say it. This focus on crew safety is critical as Artemis 2 paves the way for lunar landings and Mars exploration. The latest budget proposals for NASA has sparked intense debate with significant cuts to science programs that could reshape the agency's future. This draft budget proposal, known as a passback, was recently delivered to NASA officials, outlining a nearly 50% reduction in funding for the agency's science programs. Not a fan of it. Under this new plan, NASA's Science Mission Directorate, which received $7.5 billion in fiscal year 2025, would see its budget drop to $3.9 billion for fiscal year 2026. The proposed cuts break down as follows. Astrophysics funding would fall by 2/3 to $487 million. Heliophysics would also face a greater than 2/3 cut to $455 million. Earth science would be reduced by over 50% to $1.033 billion, and planetary science would see a 30% cut to $1.929 billion. While ongoing missions like the Hubble and James Webb Space Telescope would continue, the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope, fully assembled and on track for a 2027 launch, would be cancelled, along with the Mars sample return and the Da Vinci mission to Venus. These reductions could have far-reaching impacts, potentially forcing the closure of NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland. It employs 10,000 civil servants and contractors and plays a key role in science missions. You can't just cut that away. Over the past 25 years, the Science Mission Directorate has driven many of NASA's most notable achievements, including the Ingenuity helicopter on Mars, New Horizons Pluto flyby, and Cassini's discovery of water plumes on Enceladus. The budget process is far from final. NASA will review the passback and submit appeals, after which the White House will finalize the president's budget request, expected in 4 to 6 weeks. Congress, which holds the power to set the final budget, may push back. However, if the budgeting process stalls, a tactic called impoundment could allow the White House to enforce these cuts starting October 1st, the beginning of the new fiscal year. This proposal raises critical questions about NASA's role in scientific discovery. The Science Mission Directorate, which accounts for about 30% of NASA's $25 billion budget, has been instrumental in advancing our understanding of Earth, the solar system, and the universe at large. Cutting its funding could hinder research on climate change, planetary exploration, and astrophysics, potentially ceding ground to competitors like China, which recently announced ambitious planetary missions. I have to say this, I personally think that this is the wrong way to go, even if you want to make NASA more efficient, which might be needed. Canceling finished missions and closing the Goddard Space Flight Center creates more harm than good. That's not the positive note I wanted to leave you on today, but this is a very important topic. That's it for today. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. A new Raptor design and our brand new Starship Block 2 design are both up. Link is in the description and in the card you should see now. Also, check out our print store at shop.whataboutit.space to buy a picture for your favorite wall. A significant amount of every purchase goes directly to our photographer Jordan. And if you want to learn more about SpaceX's history and why Starship is skipping leg day, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Shenanigans? Shenanigans? I think so. Put that button in its place, man! Yeah. Surprising.